policy analysis, goals and purpose of policy analysis, and devoted more discussion on the process, public policy analysis process. Now, in this lecture, we will discuss the methodological tools that policy analysts widely use in policy analysis and stakeholder also use in policy analysis. And in this lecture, we will particularly focus on the drivers of policy analysis in terms of the tools and methods in policy making. The methods and tools in policy analysis in the European context. I'm starting with an example from the European context, then getting into the methods straight away. I think that would be very helpful. And then I will focus, we have a large number of methods in policy analysis, tools in policy analysis. So in this lecture, I will try to focus on most of the methods, more than half of the methods that are available in policy analysis. Of course, there are a large number of methods, but we will focus on the key methods of policy analysis. The methods that we will focus in this lecture are regulatory impact analysis, quick policy analysis, the Delphi method, the SWOT analysis, meta-analysis, the management by objective method, and today's lecture we will end with the cost benefit and cost effectiveness analysis. Perhaps there are many other measures that we will move to the next lecture. The tools and methods are largely known as the drivers of policy analysis. So the policy analytical method or tool, definitionally, it is described as a technique, a scheme, a method, a device, an operation framework, including but not limited to those developed in the fields of economics, mathematics, statistics, health metrics, computing, operation research, and system dynamics. There could be more disciplines, but these are important disciplines that have contributed to the methods and tools of policy analysis, which can be used to collect, condense, make sense of different kinds of policy relevant knowledge to perform some or all of the various interlinked tasks of policy formulation, a definition given by Turnpenny in 2015. Therefore, the deployment of policy analytical tools, often also referred to as policy analytical method, done in 2004 in his paper, referred to this. Also, policy analytical tools have been the topic of research and training since the 1950s and 60s. Today, I think that you have access to a lot of online training tools, policy analytical tools, particularly in health metrics. If you like to attend, there are lots of online policy analytical tools available. One can take courses on policy analysis in health or business analysis tools. So in policy analysis, if policy making is an art, policy analysis aims to add a bit of science to the art. So if policy making is an art, policy analysis is science, because there is a very serious amount of analysis, robust analysis necessary in policy making. The role of policy analysis in policy making, we had considerable discussion in the previous lecture, but to begin with, in discussing the methods of policy analysis. In the world of complex political, socioeconomic processes, predicting the effectiveness of a particular policy relating to their intended goals while identifying potential unintended consequences is a very tough task, difficult task. So one has to be careful and perform very serious analysis before opting to implement a policy. For making any policy decision, we need detailed data. That is one essential requirement to synthesize into information, data into information on the specific problems under study. Data needs to be processed rigorously and robustly with detailed analysis and evidence synthesis to present them into information and for effective communication, which are useful in the policy users context for making informed decision. Therefore, an important goal of public policy analysis is to help policymakers to arrive at a viable, informed policy choices with credible expectations of what will be the expected outcomes of that particular policy choices. So policy analysis plays a very critical role, very crucial role in policy making. I'm starting with examples of different kinds of policy analysis used in the European context. This is also the European context as well as in the OECD countries. This platform of analysis has been used. And this is a study based on policy analysts or policy makers in Belgium. The sample is 1,601. So its interviews were conducted among 1,600 policy analysts or policy makers or policy stakeholders, asking them about the type of analytical methods, policy analysis method they used in policy analysis and for policy making. With the most important methods, standard methods of policy making, if you can see, around 30% of policy analysts have used these methods. These are the cost benefit analysis, the cost effectiveness analysis, stakeholder analysis, SWOT analysis, benchmarking analysis, multi-criteria analysis, survey data analysis. So the percentage of the analysts using these methods ranges from 20 to 30%. But a much larger percentage of analysts or policymakers have used what is known as brainstorming focus group interviews. This is the widely used method. More than 50% of policy analysis or policy stakeholders have used this method in Belgium at different levels. And the least used policy analysis methods are decision-making trees, Delphi method, logic model, gaming, etc. There are other methods which fall into the percentage use of 15 to 20%. Now, this analysis also gives more detailed information, most and least frequently applied tools across policy levels. It's a federal level, at the regional level, in Belgium, for example, in Flanders, Walloon region, and French-speaking community. The most frequently used tools, if you see the first 5 tools, if you see this table, it shows that the most widely used tools are brainstorming, focus group interviews, SWOT analysis, stakeholder analysis, cost benefit analysis, and benchmark analysis. These are the most widely used analysis, not only at the federal level, but also at the regional level. But the least frequently used tools are the logic model, Delphi, gaming, etc. We all know in standard policy analysis, it's always the cost benefit analysis, the SWOT analysis, or the survey analysis or focus group discussion. But of course, in final policy making stage, always there is brainstorming of all the choices of policy decision. There is another important table in this survey-based analysis, policy tools adopted at different levels and sectors of policy making in Belgium. The policy level is at the federal and at the regional level, the 3 regions. And the policy sectors are the Defense Ministry, the Finance Ministry, the Administration Affairs, the Employment Work Ministry, Agriculture and Environmental Ministry, the Finance and Budget Ministry, Cultural Heritage and Infrastructure Ministry, and Education and Youth. And you look at the tools that are being used for policy making in these ministries at different levels. If you see, for example, defense, a wide range of methods are being used: focus group interviews, SWOT analysis, cost benefit analysis, multi-criteria analysis, decision trees, logic models, games. Wide range of methods are used. Whereas in finance ministry, I think this which fewer and not the very standard SWOT and stakeholder analysis are widely used. Then if you look at administrative affairs and work, it is again a number of methods: focus group, brainstorming, benchmark, SWOT, and cost benefits analysis. Work, of course, they use fewer methods. Agriculture environment, again, they use a large number of methods because there's a very important ministry. Use brainstorming, benchmark, SWOT, CBA, MCA, and surveys, as well as cultural infrastructure, etc. But the least I mean, methods, in terms of number of methods, the least number of methods being used in education and youth and in finance ministry. Possibly this indicates the way the policy making is being undertaken in this ministry, or they don't need more detailed or rigorous analysis in policy making. And in this lecture, so I gave you a glimpse of how different methods are being used in European context. And in this lecture, I am going to focus particularly on the following methods. There are around 12 policy analysis methods which I plan to discuss. Out of this, in this lecture, I plan to take up these methods: regulatory impact analysis, quick analysis method, SWOT analysis, Delphi method, brainstorming, and then cost benefit analysis, cost effectiveness analysis, management by objective, and meta analysis. Given time constraints, so I am limiting myself to these methods today, and rest of the methods we will move to the next lecture. What is regulatory impact analysis? Maybe some of you may have heard and others may not have heard about this, but this is largely the method used in regulatory policies. In the previous lecture, if you remember, I devoted time discussing the different types of policy, the regulatory policy, the distributive policy, and the redistributive policy. The regulatory policy generally deal with government laws and regulations, large laws relating to every ministry. So there is a tool used in regulatory impact analysis used for regulatory laws, which is known as regulatory impact analysis. The regulatory impact assessment is a systematic approach to critically assess the positive and negative effects of the proposed or existing regulation, laws, or tax laws, or any other laws, and non-regulatory alternatives. So RIA is employed worldwide, including OECD countries. OECD countries are widely using the RIA tool for enacting laws, implementing laws, regulatory laws in all of their countries. And it encompasses a range of methods. It's an important element of an evidence-based approach to policy making in regulatory policies. The RIA has developed into a standard procedure in policy analytical work, especially as regards the preparation of policy initiatives that are translated into regulation. RIA is a structured process resulting in a document which outlines pros and cons of possible policy options by comparing the expected direct and indirect effects. As is the case for federal level, its relevance and impact should, however, not be overestimated. But there are federal regulation and there are also regional state level regulations. So one has to evaluate, there are certain laws which are federal, there are certain laws which are at the state level. So the evaluation is a regulatory impact analysis is important in implementing law at the federal level or at the state level. Their relevance and impact should not be overestimated or underestimated. In terms of criteria for evaluating this regulatory impact analysis, if you remember in my first lecture, I discussed some templates of the criteria that needs to be used, particularly in climate action, etc. I discussed some criteria framework used in evaluation for policy analysis.